New OSRS player island design.
To YouTube, Jagex has put out a player island competition, and Hedron has come up with her own island that includes a new endgame duo boss with a darker theme and ties to Whisper's Blackstone. I'll be here to show it off to you guys and go over a Q&A with her concept arts and ideas. So, let's dive into it.
Wait, did she do this for the competition to make an island? But they made a video for it? This is insane dedication, man. Wait, what the hell? It has a cinematic? Yo, cinema. Is that a grenade? Whoa. The Blackstone fragment. That was cool.
That was such a sick cinematic trailer for the island. There's a lot going on in there, and we have a lot of questions. So I have Hedron with me, and we'll have her break down everything going on there. Where is the island? How do we get there? And what is its purpose?
So I wrote a lore entry, the Captain's Log, which I will put later in this video, but in short, the island was created from Doom digging around causing earthquakes. That's why the island floated up to the top. It's just kind of a part of the ocean floor. It's between Varlamore and Korend, and you get there by sailing. I recommend 80 to 85 because it is related to an endgame boss, and I wanted something for people who leveled up sailing that high. Look forward to some kind of PVM encounter or something interesting. The goal with the island was to just...
Guys, I've been saying this. They're gonna need to do something for sailing, because right now I ain't doing it. But if there was an in-game boss that dropped in-game stuff, I'll absolutely level sailing. This is a great idea.
Just make a new one-off boss. I know Jagex is extremely busy with Raids 4.
So you said endgame, and we see some spooky stuff in the video. This is a boss island with PVM?
This island is a duo boss encounter designed as an endgame encounter. It does require 2 people, and if it was to be solo, it'd be similar to like solo.
Okay, a new
it's not
Yama.
intended, but it is doable if you have, you know, the grit and the skill to do so. I think
New Yama right here.
MMO, old school RuneScape lacks teamwork and mechanics designed for gameplay compared to other MMOs. I know old school RuneScape in general is different than most MMOs, but I do really like where Tob and...
Yeah, it's a lot of solo content already, but everything in the game, even though it's not meant to be solo, can still be soloed. And I think that's a great sweet spot. And that's very true to what old school RuneScape is the best players can always solo everything.
And other encounters, even spell books, you know, help out your team. So I wanted to bring those elements back to old school RuneScape with a duo boss that does actually require 2 people to complete mechanics.
What is the boss, and what are the mechanics?
So the boss doesn't have a name. In lore is just a sea creature who was corrupted by Blackstone. I did this for multiple reasons. One is because Jagex needs space in order to not interfere with anything they're working on. It's also one of the requirements in the player island rules is not to like create new metas or new quest lines or anything like that that can hinder their progression. It doesn't have a name. It's not sentient. It's just kind of a one-off boss. It's not tied into lore other than it was corrupted by Blackstone, which leaves a lot of room for them to either tie it into lore if they want, or he's just some kind of guy at the bottom of the ocean.
She's kind of leaving the lore vague so that if Jagex likes the idea, they have room to come in and put their spin on it, which is a good idea.
I currently just call him Fred, or I just call him the Maw, because
Fred
that is the Maw of Whispers.
The Maw is a good
three-phase
name.
encounter with a hard mode variant for the sweats. I know.
Guys, the Maw goes hard. And also freak the Maw in Shadowlands. Because bad memories. But hey, this one, the Maw sounds appropriate.
You know, I'm No Monkey's wife, so people think I'm only going to design content that he would like, but he actually had no opinions on anything other than, hey, do you think this boss looks cool? That's why I made a hard mode variant, so that more of the community could do a normal mode boss and still feel rewarded. Each phase is linear. There are 3 different phases with different themed mechanics like bleed, corrosion, and there is like an escape sequence where you may or may not have to escape from the boss, or you can kill the boss depending on how you manage your resources within the fight. In hard mode, all 3 of these linear phases are active at once, and you'll have to figure out how to deal with the mechanics that I'd outlined. I don't want to tell people too much about the mechanics and what they do and all that, because if Jagex decides to actually use the boss, then I would like to keep the mystery and the excitement of like day 1 release where everybody's trying to scramble to figure out what is going on. But I do actually have like fleshed out phases and everything else in a document that I submitted with the island.
Okay, but like, why does the boss drop? Why do we care? How does the loot system work? Is there uniques, or is it a GP moneymaker?
Typically, I don't like going through and balancing items for rewards. I know a lot of people on Reddit, a lot of people on YouTube, they all have their opinions on what should be in the game. And new mega rares, all this, that, and the other. And they don't really have context of what Jagex wants, and they don't have any context of balancing, and they kind of just want things to be OP and fun and whatever. That's great. I just like designing what things might look like. I like the fashionscape of it all. I'm not a game dev, so the only really thing I designed for this was a new rapier. I think stab is fun.
This is cool. Look at those.
Use that because in the boss fight, there's a lot of stabbing things. The boss stabs himself. So I figured rapier was a good fit for a weapon. Now, I know that a lot of people are like, well, Tob has the rapier and it's not used really anywhere, and it's been overshadowed by Fang, or Tob is becoming like obsolete. I understand that from a game's point of view too. They don't want to just keep making things not meta anymore. At some point, I think everything will have its dying point. I think one day Tebow will not be best mega rare ranged weapon, and I think it's just how long the game has been alive that will happen. So I did make a rapier upgrade. They can either make a coral handle and attach it to the rapier to keep Grozzy Rapier relevant, or they can just kill off rapier completely and make this the new rapier. I was hoping it would have some kind of bleed mechanic. I think affliction mechanics like bleed, burn, all that kind of stuff, poison, really helps them flesh out little niches within the weapon space and creative space without completely just adding power creep.
This is so much more than I thought was going to be in this video. This is really in depth.
Like, this is a water boss, so maybe they give you a crystal that increases your water elemental damage.
Guys, this is like when the teacher gives a presentation assignment and some people go up to the class with like, you know, their notes and they just talk off of a note card. And Hedron has brought in a well-produced cinematic, like actual models of stuff, and then like samples to pass around to the class, designed a PowerPoint and one of those cardboard cutouts that you have on your hypothesis whenever you're doing a science fair. She has gotten all of the extra credit on this assignment and then some. She's blowing it out of the water, and everybody in the class is just like, this is it. This is insanely good. You know what I mean? This is so good. She's cooking.
Or they put a new magic amulet
hey,
or something on there. It doesn't have to be special. Like I said, I didn't design the reward space. I didn't want that to be the most important thing. I just wanted a really cool boss. As for the loot system, it is duo. Everybody just gets their own loot, and it's just like
she on that nobody wants to present next type shit. Yeah, no, you don't want to go after this type shit. No, you don't want to.
Titans where you just go pick it up. I would hope that this is decent moneymaker because I figured they would put sailing things like dragon plates and whatnot on this since it is a harder fight. I don't want it to feel like Mocha where like the uniques carry it, and this doesn't necessarily have to have uniques. So if they decide not to put the rapier or design a unique item for this encounter, then I would like it to be good GP an hour. And it is locked behind high sailing, so hopefully bots stay away from it for a little bit.
And last question, finishing up the Q&A, how does this fit into sailing? And why do you think Jagex should pick this island for voting?
I've seen a lot of really neat ideas, PVM and PvE, related to sailing and the player island competition. I think why I went with PVM style island and why I want my island to win more than anything is because I think sailing kind of failed on the combat half of it.
True.
I think boat combat and waiting for a boat combat rework is going to be a long time. So I think they can kind of soften that a little bit by picking a PVM island. I don't care if it's not mine. I've seen some really good ideas out there on Reddit that have PVM, and I'm kind of excited for any of those to be put into the, you know, top 5 for voting.
Damn, this
I don't
video
really
is
want
so
to see
well
another
done,
like
man.
Chinchampa 2 island. I've seen some crafting islands that give you like 800k XP an hour. You know, I feel like a lot of people are making like private servery islands, so I hope they don't go with something like that, or they, of course, they take the idea and tone it down. I don't particularly care what they pick. I would prefer a PVM island, though. I want them to explore more PVM because they have all this open like land to put things on. They don't even have to just like try to squeeze it somewhere already in the map. Now they have everywhere to work with, and I think that will make sailing successful in a different kind of sense. I know at the end of the day, any PVM island will inherently take more dev time than a skilling island. I do hope they pick something that is worth the dev time to put in, and they're not just kind of slapping something in for the sake of it. But I think it's important for devs to put time and effort into some of the community's ideas and show that they not only really care about the community's ideas and they're not just kind of ripping them off.
And let this boss drop hella Raynar seeds and snapdragons. Please.
But to bring their visions to life in the best way possible for the whole community to enjoy. Overall, I'm really excited, and I like that they brought in a competition that is very open-ended for a lot of people. I know they said no AI, and you can enter without having art. You can just give them a write-up. I think that's really neat. I think that people who aren't artistically inclined feel like they're not going to get a fair chance, but it sounds like they're giving everybody a fair chance. And I've read some Reddit posts that had no art and everything else, so I'm excited to see what the devs picked for their top 5. I'm excited to see what other ideas people didn't post publicly, because I know people were a little afraid to have their ideas stolen. I personally was afraid my ideas were going to be stolen, so I didn't let Gnome leak them too much on stream, but he did anyway. Oops. Overall, I am excited to see what the Winter Summit brings from the Winter Summit point, but also to see what the Player Island top choices are and what the community votes on.
And guys, when are they announcing the winner of this competition? Does anybody know? Because I'm curious. I'm curious to see who's gonna win this. I want to see other people's islands now. This is the best one I've seen by far. Like, it's not even close. Next year, Winter Summit. Okay. All right, Winter Summit, maybe end of the month.
And that's it for the Player Island comp submission by Hedron. Jagex plans to pick the top 4 submissions and present them on the Winter Summit stream later this month and have the community vote on what they want. Then it goes to a 70% pass or fail poll. If you want to read more about the competition, I'll link the blog down below for those who are interested. Like and subscribe, vote on the islands, tell us your thoughts and what you like and you don't like, what you would want to see in the new Player Islands, and thanks for watching.
Wow. Guys, that was so much more than what I was expecting. That island absolutely farmed. That was so good. I haven't really seen any other islands besides the ones on Behemoth, so I don't know. Is there a place where we can go and look at them or something? Now I'm kind of curious to see what other people's islands are cooking up. Reddit? They're all on Reddit? All right, we might have to take a dab over at Reddit and see if we could find some of those later on once we get towards the end. But I think that Jagex will just filter through all of them and pick top 5. So maybe we just look at the top 5 whenever they pick those. That way we don't have to go through a bunch of them or a bunch of troll ones. We'll let Jagex filter them out. Yo, W Hedron and No Monkey on that. Guys, W's in the chat if you thought that was a good idea, that island. That was sick. You better get to salvaging if you ever want to go to those. Listen, buddy, if I wanted to get my sailing up, I already would have done it. You think sailing can hold me back? Come on, guys. I can knock that out in just a few minutes. I just don't want to. Not yet. There's no reason to. Sailing is a bit overwhelming for me as a new Iron Man. It added so much more to the game, and I still had so much game to play. Like, it didn't make sense for me to stop doing what I was doing to like go do something else.